Welcome to Elite Rugby SandC podcast, the best podcast talking all things rugby and strength and conditioning. At Elite Rugby SandC, we provide athletes with strength and conditioning programs that provides you with everything you need to become a beast and take your game to the next level. No matter what stage of the year or season, Elite Rugby SandC has a program for you. You can try before you buy, so try our 7-day $7 trial to get a taste of what we offer here at Elite Rugby SandC. Also, sign up to our newsletter and receive free bonus content each and every single week. So take your game to the next level, become a beast, and join Elite Rugby SandC today. Today on the podcast, Brumbies fly half Jack Debreczeni joins me for a chat. Jack made his Super Rugby debut for the Melbourne Rebels back in 2014 and went on to play 54 games for the club. He's had the opportunity to play with a few professional clubs around the world, but now he is back in Australia and ready to play for the Brumbies in the upcoming Super Rugby season. On this episode, we discuss how to make the most of a new opportunity, how to make the most of pre-season training. We talk about the importance of strength and conditioning training. Jack provides great advice on how to manage your body week in and week out. And Jack also provides excellent advice on general play kicking and goal kicking as well. This was a fantastic episode, and I really appreciate Jack taking time out to speak with me today. Enjoy! So, g'day, Jack. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you very much, Kieran. Lovely Friday in Canberra. So, yeah, can't complain.
That's awesome to hear, mate. So how's the body feeling after week one of the preseason at Brumbies?
Yeah, week one, it's not too bad. This morning, the lower back was a bit tight getting out of bed, but so far, so good. I've enjoyed the first week. Sun's out, which has made things really great. So, loving the first week of preseason.
Was week one pretty easy, or was it like sort of to be expected in terms of difficultness, or...?
I think day one's always a shock to the system. Most of the boys had sort of running blocks or fitness top-ups in our sort of 4 weeks off, but you sort of can't replicate the same intensity as a normal full-on 2-hour session. So day one was a bit of a shock to the body, but now slowly getting acclimatized to the rigors of pre-season again. So, it's not too bad so far.
Awesome. So if we want to get into the details of this week that just went past, what was your split in terms of in the gym and out on the field?
Yeah, so at the moment we're sort of day on, day off at the moment, just for the first couple of weeks, just to get people reintegrated back into the running load, the back-to-back sessions. So we've been doing field session in the morning and then sort of a full body gym session in the afternoon. That's sort of been the split so far.
Okay, awesome. That's awesome. So with preseason well underway now for Super Rugby, how do players make the most of the preseason from a player like yourself who has been in the system for a while now, but also some new players, coming to a new club as well? Do you have any advice for sort of maximizing your preseason?
Yeah, I would say from my learnings from being a younger guy to sort of where I'm now with a bit of experience, it's probably having specific targets or goals that you want to achieve. And I'd break it up with pre-Christmas, post-Christmas. Like in this pre-Christmas, have a specific target, whether it's you want to get your strength up in the gym, you want to get better at repeat speed or some sort of skill component. If you can get real specific with that, you can tailor your extra sessions to try hit those targets. And then once you've got your areas you want to really try to hit, go see whoever's in charge, whether it's the S&C or the backs coach or the rehab guy for prehab stuff. I'd go get aligned with the plan just so your extras can sort of align with the program. Because at the end of the day, I believe that what the program given to you is just the start, and then you have to add on top of that to make the most out of it. Otherwise, you're just doing the rest as everyone else.
100%. Yeah, if you're all just doing this sort of same sort of work and not working on those little 1%ers, then you're probably not going to get into the sort of physical state and mental state when round number one comes in. So yeah, I really like how you said, adding those little 1%ers, but go seek out the coaches as well, because they know what you need to work on. So why not go ask for advice from them? Yeah,
and I think the thing that a lot of people, young people especially, struggle with or not struggle with, but probably take time to find out, is the quicker you can have ownership over your own weekly schedule, your program, and really own that, the quicker you'll probably see results, rather than just waiting for the program or waiting for the coach to tell you this or waiting for the fitness session to happen, what's entailed about it. If you create ownership of what you want to achieve, what your weekly schedule will look like, I think that puts you in a really good stead to have the best preseason as possible.
That's awesome. So, do you sort of see yourself as a bit of a leader now? Because you have been in rugby in the professional league for a few years now, and there's quite a few new faces around Brumbies at the moment. Of some players coming up from the 19s to train in this preseason block. Do you see yourself as a bit of a leader? And if you do, what advice do you sort of have for those sort of new players stepping into like a club like Brumbies?
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't say, because I'm also new to the environment, so I wouldn't say I see myself as a leader, but I probably just with the young guys coming in, I just try to have conversations with about topics I know they're probably experiencing in this first couple of weeks around what do I do here, what's happening here. So yeah, it's probably just having conversations with them, knowing that what maybe the anxieties, or they're feeling really tired after a double day, and it's sort of just how they're going to get away from rugby just to refresh. Like, just talking to them about that is probably sort of a role I've seen so far, especially some of the younger backs that have come through. So yeah, that's probably the sort of, I guess, leadership roles I've been doing with those young guys at the moment.
That's awesome, and those little things add up and can make a world of difference as well. And yes, I think sometimes you're going to sort of feel like you're alone in the team, but there's people out there to help you, and you're all striving to be better anyway as a team. So I think you just got to remember that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So with the level of competition going up every single year, it seems like players just get bigger and tougher and faster, and it's quite scary from just the person who's watching rugby. I don't know what's about playing, but how do you sort of manage your body week in and week out during the preseason, but also during the in-season to keep performing?
I think, like you said, a lot of you see these young boys come through and they're getting stronger, faster, bigger. So in regards to managing, I think it's all about recovery. We're running pretty high loads on one day. At the moment, it's day on, day off. But once it becomes sort of back-to-back sessions, back-to-back days, the key is, once that final day is finished, that first day is finished at, say, 5 o'clock, what are you doing between 5 and 8 the next morning to put yourself in the best position to go again? Because at the end of the day, it's trying to maximize every session. So it's around nutrition, it's your sleep, it's your recovery post-session. I think that's the best thing that you can focus on. And that's what I try to do. As I'm getting older, I need to do it more, because the body isn't how it was, 7, 8 years ago. So I need to be a bit more diligent on my recovery, on my sleep schedule, and stuff like that, to make sure I'm maximizing every session. Because when you look at it up close, it's daunting. 6 weeks before Christmas, it's a lot of trainings. But when you actually figure out, you break it down, there's only really 25 sessions. So you start seeing it like that, rather than 6 weeks. You start saying, well, I need to make the most of those sessions to get the most out of it before, I guess, we have a Christmas time.
100%. And was focusing on, your sleep, eating, and sort of hydration something that you didn't really take as serious when you were younger, and now you sort of understood? Or was it, no, I was pretty keen on it from the get-go?
Nah, definitely. There's a bit of learning period, I think, because you can get away with that stuff when you're younger, and I've experienced that. You can get away with not being diligent with sleep, or not recovering properly, and just being able to rock up the next morning and just go again, because the body's a bit more youthful. And so yeah, it's definitely been a thing that I've learned over the years, talking with older guys when I was younger, what they do with the recovery. So yeah, it's been an ongoing process. I still learn new things from different environments that I'm in, and have learnt new things from this environment that I'm in. So yeah, it's an ongoing process, and it's something that is forever changing.
I think we all go through it as well. It doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete or just an athlete playing amateur sport. Like, I remember there was a time during the in-season, it was a good sort of 6 weeks of just going out and partying type thing, and not really paying attention to sleep and nutrition. I got to like sort of the fourth and fifth week is like, damn, I'm actually still performing all right, but like I've put
Yeah.
on a bit of weight and stuff like that. So you might think in the short run, yeah, I'll be right if I don't get sleep after a game, but it takes forever for that. Like if you actually go into the research into it, if you have a really poor night's sleep on that Saturday, the repercussions of it, you're probably not fully recovered till like Tuesday, Wednesday. And then that's halfway through the week, and you've already done some training, so you've got that added fatigue onto it, and yeah, it's just a spiraling circle going down, unfortunately. So yeah, you sort of learn the hard way, but I think for some athletes they got to learn that way because you just sort of don't know how important it is until I know you miss on selection, you're not playing as well, or you start to get injury. But yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing, especially in these periods, like guys that are coming in, especially some of the academy guys, like it's an awesome opportunity. And I guess the thing with making sure you're diligent with your recovery is, to an extent, yes, performance, but it's also to prevent injury as best you can. And at the end of the day, I think availability is your best ability, because you get injured week one and you don't train for the next 5 weeks, that was your opportunity gone to sort of stamp your mark. So yeah, I think that's where if you can shift the focus on not just performance, but also to ensure that you're able to stay injury free from what's in your control. I think that's an important reason to have focus on.
no, I love that. And unfortunately, your next injury is just around the corner.
Yeah,
Like you just don't know when it's going to happen or occur. It could be something minor, could be something really serious. But if you're putting yourself into the best position every single time and recovering, that injury could be potentially minor instead of being something really serious.
yeah, definitely.
Mm. So you have played for a few different clubs. How do you make the most of the opportunity at a new club, like going into different cultures and different competitions? Yeah, how do you make the most of that opportunity? And have you sort of learnt any, I don't know, life advice along the way, playing in different cultures and different clubs as well?
Yeah, I think what I've established going into different environments is to first understand what that culture is. To really throw yourself head first and figure out what the club's values are, how they go about things on a daily basis. I think that's really important, and that's what I found going from different environments over the year, that I've experienced some pretty amazing cultures. Like in New Zealand, I was lucky that both the teams I played with there were deeply rooted into the Māori culture, and that was you could see that through the entire program, our language, our values, and that was awesome to be a part of. And then now coming to another Australian rugby franchise, you can see what makes the Brumbies historically so successful. It's I'm already starting to see that the values that they hold really strong at this club, and the way that the things they pride themselves on. So yeah, I think when going to a new environment, you just got to go head in first, ask a lot of questions, to really get an understanding of what makes the place tick, and then really buy in to what they do at their issue.
That's awesome. And I think you can't go into that environment thinking, oh, this is the way that they do it, I'm not going to do it that way type thing, if that makes sense. Like if you go in there with that sort of, I don't know, negative mindset, or very just not willing to change, then you're probably not going to make the most of that opportunity, and you're probably going to miss out on some personal growth and learning about different cultures and organizations. So if you can really go in there with that sort of open mindset, I think you're going to learn a lot, and then you'll be able to take everything you've learned from one club and then try and bring it into that next club as well.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome. So when you're not being a professional rugby athlete, what do you like to do in your spare time? Is there certain TV shows you like to do? Is there like a secret hobby or something along those lines?
Not big into the TV shows, which my wife isn't too happy about. She always tries to get me onto. I get to about 3 episodes deep and then sort of switch off. Avid book reader, mainly non-fiction. Love a bit of chess. Online chess. They're probably a couple of hobbies. But I also love watching sport. Big NFL fan. So NFL Mondays mornings are pretty jam packed for me. So
Who's your team in the NFL?
New Orleans Saints. I was a big Drew Brees fan. So that's why I sort of got into them. Now he's sort of wavered. Big Jameis is dragging tail a bit, but No, it's been a pretty close competition so far. Do you follow any teams?
Yeah, big Seattle fan, and if people have been listening to this podcast, they do know I'm a Seattle fan as well. So it's turned from a rebuilding year into actually being top of the NFC West. So it's one of the cool things about the NFL is it's such a short season. Like even Super Rugby, it's so short, but it's you just don't know who's going to win a game.
No,
Like,
especially this year in the NFL, it's been pretty
yeah,
crazy, the upsets.
yeah. And if you're putting multis down on tab or something, like it's the hardest thing to pick.
I reckon NFL multis are quite tough.
Yeah,
Even though some games are short odds, they're pretty tough to pick.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
The Jets this year have been
Yep.
shocks, shocking.
Yeah. And I think even the Eagles as well, 8-0,
Oh,
and just playing really good footy. Like
I
it's
know,
crazy.
I
But
know.
yeah, definitely a big NFL fan. So if you ever want to reach out and talk about that, I'm more than happy to talk about it. I'm really in a good position right now. Who knows when,
Yeah, yeah.
give another
Well,
8 weeks, if I'm
there's,
still this happy or quite sad. Who knows?
there's two different teams: teams that play well before December and play teams that
Mm,
play well after. December's the telling month.
yeah. So hopefully we can play good against Tom Brady this weekend in Germany, and then
Yes.
have a good week off, and then bring it home in the back end of the season.
Is that where the game is in Germany?
Yeah, Munich.
Oh,
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, have you challenged anyone to chess around the club yet? You
Oh, I
know?
haven't really asked around here if anyone plays chess.
Okay.
I'll have to throw out a few lines and see if I get any nibbles. I'm
Yeah,
assuming maybe not. Most of these young boys are on TikTok, so
sure.
I don't know if they got time for chess.
Yeah, I think challenge him. Maybe when Noah comes back, you can challenge him to a chess competition or something like that. You know, I think Alan might be another one who no, he's quite smart, Alan Alalatos. So I think
Yeah,
he
I might
would
have to
be.
challenge him.
Yeah, I think
The new Wallabies captain, which is awesome to see.
yeah, I think bring the chessboard in and just challenge someone each day.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So, has strength and conditioning been a part of your rugby journey sort of the whole time, or was it something that you sort of learnt the importance of strength and conditioning over your rugby career?
Yeah, it's probably been a thing that's been ongoing development. When I was younger, there wasn't too much focus into that. It was always about my skill work, especially as like a teenager. I guess back then, schoolboy rugby, like compared to what it is now, like it's pretty high performance now. Most of the schools that play rugby, especially in Sydney, so it wasn't like that back then. And then as I've gone through the ranks and gotten older, it's become a bigger and bigger part of my journey. And I think over those years, there's been a lot of trial and error of what my body responds well to, what I need to perform at my best on the field, different exercises. So, yeah, over time, I've definitely tried to incorporate uh, more strength and conditioning into my program than probably I did at the start of my career.
Awesome. What has strength and conditioning sort of taught you over your career and yeah, helped you to continue to play at the elite level?
Yeah, I think little things like probably early on, I saw, say, your trunk area more as abs rather than core, as the aesthetics of abs and the exercises of how do I get a six pack rather than how do you create a strong core to brace for contact, to work on breakdowns for your passing, to be strong in kicking positions. So it's just a change of mindset of trying to take, I guess, the bodybuilder approach that sometimes you probably get caught into as a young guy with being aesthetics to how do I translate what I'm doing into the gym as best onto the field and what exercises can I do to put
Mm,
myself in the best position to be strong in the positions I find myself in on the field.
I love that, and that's something you just don't really learn once you're young. Like you just don't know, and
When you're younger, it's just all about buys, try.
yeah. 100%. It's just trying to look good in the mirror and play good footy so the girls, like what you do as well. So,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, for me, it was probably more understanding the structure of a program. Like, if I follow this structure and this layout of today and I do that consistently over 4 or 5 weeks, I'm actually going to get stronger. Whereas, I remember starting out in the gym, I was just doing what the older boys did. If it was certain movement day, let's just go do that. Leg day, let's just go do that. And there was no real consistency in terms of reps and sets and in terms of the variations of movement as well. So I think combining that with what you just said is probably the key to success, is understanding how can it help me be a better rugby athlete, but how I structure and plan my days and weeks is really important to slowly increase my performance, slowly increase my strength and power, not just have all these different types of training throughout the week and months, really.
Yeah, and I think also, if I had advice to any young kid, to be consistency. I think when you're younger, you're chasing results really quick, and you generally try to go real hard too early, and then you don't see the results and tailor off again. Or if you're consistent, like you said, in the program, you're going to find results a lot quicker.
Unfortunately, the process to get better is quite slow and boring at times, but if you can just stay passionate and just trust that process, it's very cliche, but it's going to pay off. Like, it just takes some time.
Definitely.
So what is the sort of the key attributes and skills needed to be a fly half? And how do you become a successful fly half as well?
I think it starts with, I guess, core roles is you want to be accurate with your catch pass. You're in a position where you pretty much touch the ball just as much or as the most in the team, probably with the halfback. So if you can have real key focus on having quality catch pass, delivering good service to people outside of you, I think that's a good starting point. And then you can move on to kicking, but there's a lot of 10s out there who I guess are competent with their kicking without being overly great at it. That is still fantastic fly half. So I think you probably touch the ball and pass more than you kick. So I'd focus with catch pass first, and that be a thing I start with. And then I just probably focus on what your strengths are. If you're really agile and quick over 5-10 meters, really build that up. You look at guys like Damien McKenzie, Richie Mwanga, really quick off the mark. They're not trying to run over people, but they're quick off the mark, good feet before contact. They still beat defenders because they put defenders in weak positions. Or if you're a bigger body, learn how to be a bit more better in the power game, whether it's creating a stronger fend or bump to be better in contact situations. So, yeah, I'd focus on like skill areas like catch pass and your kicking. And then I just figure out, I guess, how you would like to play as a 10. And really just hone in on that ability, whether it's more of a tactician, if it's a runner of the ball. That's what I'd probably focus for young fly halves is take time to figure out what your game is, because every fly half's different, and it's the ones that play their game the best are the ones that are generally successful and are playing international footy.
That's awesome. Who were some of your idols growing up watching rugby?
I was being like a young 10 at the time when the Wallabies were coming through. It was Larkham in Australia, which is
it's pretty good that he's your coach now.
Awesome to be able to work with him now. And then growing up in Sydney, I was a big league fan as well. So Greg Inglis was probably my other idol. The big rangy fullback, and then probably Wilkinson in England, just with his ability to control the game through his boot.
That's awesome.
Something I loved to watch.
What about Matt Dunning's field goal? Did that sort of inspire you as well?
Yeah. I think I was actually at that game, BSFS.
Okay.
Yeah. You've never been more happier, but also disappointed in one person. It was an unbelievable drop goal, but then you're like, oh no, I don't think they're going to make the finals now.
Yeah. It was just out of nowhere, and he just boots it, clean strike, sails over.
Yeah, clean. I know what he was trying to do. He's like trying to kick it dead so they can take penalty, and he's nailed it.
Oh, that is awesome. What has been your favourite sort of stadium to play out during your rugby career?
Probably Twickenham. Yeah, I played a Barbars game against Argentina there.
What made it so special? Was it just the atmosphere?
Yeah, it was just an unbelievable stadium. Like the way it's sort of built, keeps the noise in, the crowd sort of on top of you, and then just the history as you're walking through the building. It's pretty special feeling.
Hopefully soon in Canberra we can get a new stadium.
We've sent
Senator Pocock. Hopefully he's got some power, in Parliament, and can get a new stadium down here and build something similar to Twickenham / Suncorp or something like that.
Well, I've spent a bit of time in Christchurch with Canterbury, and I think they're in talks or development stages for an indoor building there as well. Obviously,
awesome.
The climate south is similar to Canberra. So maybe they're going to see how successful that is for
Mm.
Christchurch and follow suit in Canberra.
Yeah, I think most stadiums now need to be indoors because I think as a fan, you want to see a dry pitch and you don't want rain to be a factor, unfortunately, during the game because you just want to see good, fast rugby or good, fast soccer or something along those lines.
No, I agree. I think there's too much time, money, effort put into professional sport now to be sort of impacted by weather.
And you don't want to sit there in the rain like, screw this, my team's losing, wet and cold type thing. Like,
I agree. Any sort of new stadium should have the ability to have a roof on it covered to some capacity.
Maybe we should get something like the Rams' new stadium.
Maybe. I'm sure that's easy to build. It doesn't cost that much.
Yeah. Their stadium's incredible. Like some of the NFL stadiums are just awesome and just
unbelievable.
You can only dream of that over here.
Yeah. Same with the soccer stadiums in England. I've seen the Barbarians versus All Blacks games at Tottenham this week. A couple of my mates just went to England. They went to the Tottenham new stadium. They said it's like in the middle of suburbia and it's just like unbelievable.
That's awesome. Yeah. Hopefully one day we got something soon down here in Canberra.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hi everyone. We just wanted to take a break from this episode. We hope you are enjoying this episode so far and also all the content we have produced. We appreciate all the support from our listeners and followers so far. If you haven't already, sign up to Elite Rugby SandC newsletter today. We provide you free, exclusive content each and every single week to our subscribers. Link in the bio. Remember to like, subscribe, and share Elite Rugby SandC on social media to all your friends and families. So thanks again for your support, and now back to the episode. So you have a massive boot on you. What advice do you have for kickers out there playing rugby? Do you have some tips on sort of general play kicking and then also goal kicking as well?
Yeah, I think I always tell this to young kids sort of coming through is I wish someone told me earlier to have sort of like my kicking routine earlier on. I think earlier on you just kick 1,000 balls and, you just kick them a day and it's awesome. It's like, but I think it's taken me probably longer than I would have hoped to have created like a kicking routine. And so now my weeks look pretty similar with how my kicking is, what type of kicks I do, how many balls I get through, mainly because you don't want to create injury as you get older. The abductors and groins start going. They're not used to the 1,000 balls a day. But I would definitely tell any aspiring kickers that I think the quicker they can get into a routine week to week, it will really speed up the development because it creates more of an intent with your session rather than just going out there and trying to get the ball through the post. It's sort of what are we trying to achieve with our session? And I think trying to get feedback as regularly as possible is great for kickers. Sometimes it's awesome to be out there by yourself when you're younger, visualizing you kicking the goal for the World Cup. But if you can get feedback as a young kid, I think it really speeds development. And I don't think a lot of kids in this country get that because the resources for kicking coaches in this country, especially at rugby, I don't think are there at the moment. So, yeah. And then for kicking, just make sure you stick with the routine. I've seen a lot of kickers, especially with goal kicking, change their routine frequently just because maybe they go through periods of not being successful. That's always going to happen. I would just stick true with your routine to put yourself in the best position to be sort of repetitive and I guess autopilot when you get to a pressure situation.
I love those 2 points. Yeah, the routine, but also getting feedback. And I say that because if you have the routine, then you know what's gone wrong with the routine if the kick is unsuccessful. So you can talk to yourself or talk to your coach. Yeah, I felt like this led to that and that's why I missed it. Or if you're trying to work on your routine and add something in, you can really understand the feedback if it's positive or negative. Yes, it's working or it's not working as well. So I think that's something really important is establish a routine. It can be unique to yourself or it can be super basic as well. I can still remember my routine from kicking. Like if you look at me now, like, yeah, I was a prop. I did kick. So just give me some credit there, but I can still remember my routine from just kicking, and it was just something really simple, but allowed me to get into that flow state and just focus on the ball, getting it over there, over the post. And yeah, I can't harp on enough getting that routine, but also getting some feedback. Is it working? Is it not working? But don't try and change it too much, if that makes sense. Like, you're going to have your own unique kicking style. Don't change it too much if it looks a bit weird or odd, because every kicker has something unique to themselves. And I would say make sure that you keep that aspect, but also continues to work on it as well.
And then from probably a skills perspective, two areas I'd focus on is, a lot of kids want to kick longer, further, bigger. They try to throw everything into the kick, especially from kicks further out. But I'd really focus on your ball drop. I think, especially with punting, drop kicking, your ball drops almost, I'd say, 60% of the kick. If you nail that consistently to where you want it to go, and then if you tie that in with proper and good follow through, I think you ensure that even bad connection on the ball can still be solved with a good ball drop and a good follow through. So they'd be the two areas that are easy to do. You could be in your bedroom, you could just be dropping the ball, making sure you get your body used to that hand positioning on the ball, comfortable with the connection, comfortable in holding it in one hand. And then with the follow through, just making sure you see any kick as rather the leg swinging through, it's a whole body impact through the ball and along to where you want the ball to go.
Was that something you learned from AFL as well, being down in Melbourne? Was that sort of taught you down there?
Yeah, a few different coaches over the year, especially not really in AFL, but like just different coaches over the year. We've just sort of nailed down sort of like seeing the kick more as a whole body process rather than just your leg swinging through, and that evidently creates more power through the kick anyway, because you're now using the momentum of your whole body and not just one part of your body. So yeah, any sort of kids who want to try to get better with their kicking or longer kicks, I'd really focus on your ball drop, because if you can nail your ball drop, most of the time you're going to get good connection on the ball. And then if you can finish that kick well past the point of contact, I think you put yourself in a good position to have a good strike and a good kick.
100%. And if that doesn't make sense to you, go try and throw just a ball at the wall and just look at yourself. You're just sort of throwing with your shoulder, but then when you start to use your whole body,
yeah,
like, wow, I'm actually way more powerful,
power.
So yeah, there's plenty of examples out there.
Yeah, you look at some kickers around the world, it's not the size of their body. Like I remember playing with Damien McKenzie, training with him, and he had a massive boot, and his was all about timing and connection. You look at, he's not the biggest guy in the world, but his timing was so great that the ball just flew. So yeah, don't be scared that just because you're not the biggest person out there, you can't still have a big kick. If you can really work on your timing and connection, and like I said, as any sort of young kicker out there, really focus on your ball drop and your follow through, and develop those areas, I think you'll turn into a good kicker.
That's awesome. It's great advice. Who would you say is the best teammate to room with, and who is the worst teammate to room with over your whole career? Is there anyone that sort of stands out as good and bad?
Worst teammate to room with. Let's see. Worst teammate is probably a guy, a great friend of mine, played with him in Japan, was Chance Penny, who played a few years at the Brumbies. He's probably the worst roommate. Just doesn't do much. Messy. Not the greatest chat. He'd be the worst one. And then best teammate to room with, maybe Sean McMahon.
Okay.
Yeah. He's a good man.
He was one of my favorite sort of, underappreciated rugby players in Australia.
He's one of my favorites as well.
Like, he was just he still is a beast. Like, he was, I don't know, just reminds you of sort of like Artie Severe, but the Australian version. Like, just awesome leg pump, really good in contact, will make heaps of tackles and just keeps working as well. Yeah, so it was
super aggressive, and his mindset into the physical battle is unlike I've seen before. Or have since.
Just sucks we couldn't see more of him in the Wallabies jersey.
Yes. But maybe one day, you never know. He's still young enough. He's only 28.
100%. Easy done. Now, the next...
Come back.
Yeah, come back. So the next part, I forgot to write down because it's been a week and a bit since I've done a podcast. So going into the Triple H segment. So we're just going to talk about who's your hero, What's a
Yep.
hardship you've been through in your rugby career that sort of stands out? And what was the other one? A highlight in your rugby career as well. So starting off, who's your hero and why is that person or people your hero?
So I've done this before. My hero is my dad, mainly because I feel like he obviously got me into the game of rugby, but I just think he nailed my development. Like he never pushed me to play the game. Always made sure I enjoyed it, and he just was always there for support. He hardly missed the game until I went to Japan with COVID. He was always traveling, but yeah, just unwavering support, like most dads are. But he was my hero, and is still my hero every day. I aspire to be a better human, like he is. So yeah, my dad's my hero.
No, that's awesome, mate. And what is a hardship that sort of stands out in your rugby career? And how did you get through this hardship as well?
Yeah, probably like 20, what was it? Maybe 2016, 2017 at the Rebels. I really struggled on the field. Just I was having some, I guess, mental issues around anxiety, and just I think that was the first time I realised that you have to train the brain, especially to be a professional athlete. I think we forget that the brain is a muscle, and you have to train it to adapt to, I guess, the high pressure situations that we come across in sporting environments. So that was a tough period on the field, but I think it was also awesome to experience because I've come out the other side a much better person, both on and off the field. So yeah, that was probably the toughest time, but I see it as such a blessing now that I sort of went through that period and figured out that I need to make sure that I'm looking after my mental health as well, and not just my physical health. So yeah, that was probably the toughest period.
If players are sort of struggling with that mindset and that mentality out in the field, what are some areas or resources that they can use to work on that?
Well, see, at the time I saw a sports psychologist, which was awesome, just to get someone that understood what I was probably going on a day-to-day basis, out on the field and at training, dealing with expectations, pressures, both from, I guess, internal and external. So I saw a sports psychologist, which was awesome. And then you start to talk to other players and you realize you're not alone. And then heaps of other players are speaking to someone to try to get help in those areas. But there's a lot of awesome apps at the moment. The Resilience Project is an awesome app just to have check-ins every day to make sure to see how you're going and to make sure your mental health's up to date. So yeah, there'd be a few things I recommend to any sort of person dealing with mental health out there.
100%. And I think another thing that you talked about at the start was reading. I think reading books is an awesome way to um, better prepare yourself and get off your phone and get away from the world and just sort of read what's in front of you, especially if it's like a personal development book. You can learn a lot from it and start to implement those interventions in your life can be a big help. And that's something that's helped me a lot is reading about Jocko Willink or David Goggins or anyone, Jordan B. Peterson's, just authors like that providing some really cool life advice. I think that's helped me a lot, just being a better person and a better coach as well. So I think reading something so simple we can often forget because we all got this phone in front of our face. It's good to switch off away from the phone and start reading something and forget about the world and just focus on you.
And I think the other thing is, at that time, I had really good mates who checked in with me, and I've made that a thing I do now is always checking in with my mates and being vulnerable with each other. I think as men in society, we don't really do that well. So I think it's continue to just make sure that your close mates, you check in on with them, even if it looks like they're having a great time. Just always making sure you're vulnerable with each other. I think that's a good starting point because they're the people that you're probably going to open up to first rather than a sports psychologist. So I just keep checking on with mates always and making sure that if they're not doing okay, be an ear of support to help them.
100%. I love that. And what's a highlight that sort of stands out or highlights that sort of stand out in your rugby career so far?
There's a few, but I'd probably put like my first cap for the Rebels, just because growing up, all I wanted to do was be a professional rugby player. And then for that dream to come through was just awesome to have mum and dad in the stands that day. It was essentially 20 years of work to that one point. And I never forget that day and that night. So yeah, that's probably my highlight. There's been others, but at the moment, if I could pinpoint one, it'd be my debut for the Rebels.
No, that's awesome, mate. So who should be my next guest on the podcast? Is there any names that sort of come to mind?
Probably I guess the Brumbies environment, people I've met so far. I don't know if you had him. Have you had Charlie Cale on yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he's an awesome character.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a great man. Good young player. He's going to be pretty special, I think. And yeah, off the field, he's a bit of a character. So I'm sure the listeners will love listening.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll definitely make note of that and reach out to him quite soon and get him on the podcast. So before we wrap it up today, who do you think is going to win the Super Bowl this year? Who's your tip?
Okay. I'm going to go with the Bills. I think Josh Allen is the goods.
Okay. You've heard it here first. The Bills. Another AFC team is going to win.
That's it.
I think it'd be good. It would be nice if an NFC team wins it again, because AFC's just dominated the Super Bowls, the sort of last 10, 20 years. To be honest.
I just think maybe the Eagles might tail off.
Yeah, they got some easy games coming up, and I think when it comes playoff time, they might be a one and done type of team.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you never know. Maybe Tom Brady's got another championship.
I did see something today. It was like, well, if Tom finishes the way that he's finished, top of the division, he gets to play in, say, the Cowboys.
Yeah,
he'll beat that. Then he gets to go play Seahawks, which they said he'll beat that.
Yeah,
and then he's just got to verse Jimmy G in the NFC conference, and then he'll beat him again. And then I was like, oh yeah, probably, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Giselle's put a hole in that season.
Yeah, poor Tom Brady.
Happy wife, happy life.
So where can listeners find you on social media if they've got any questions or just want to reach out or just continue to follow your story?
Yeah, Instagram is Jack Debreczeni, and that's probably the easiest way. I'm not on TikTok.
Easy one. Not on TikTok yet?
Or? No, not yet, not never. I don't have time on TikTok.
I'm sure the Brumbies media might get you on a couple of TikToks. Who knows?
Too complicated.
Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. So thanks for joining me today. It's been awesome to get to meet you, get to understand your story, and you've provided some awesome advice out there for all our listeners. So we really appreciate it, and all the best for the rest of the preseason and for the upcoming Super Rugby season as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. See you, Kieran.
Thanks for tuning into another episode of Elite Rugby SandC podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and rate Elite Rugby SandC on Spotify and YouTube, and make sure you follow us on Instagram. Sign up to become a beast via the link in the description or via Instagram page. Also, remember to sign up to our newsletter to receive free bonus content each and every single week. So don't wait, make that good decision and join Elite Rugby SandC today and take your game to the next level. Thanks for listening.